This is Budget in India Inc. on ET Now. Focus on what the FM can do and will do this budget. Shefali, that brings me to you. Pick up auto, cement and then power and tell us what are your expectations from a tax point of view on these sectors.
Well, I wouldn't tell much about the differentiation there, but of course, the excise and service tax is a common thread running across all of them. I would also expect that there should be some more focus on education. And Dr. Trehan mentioned about the healthcare, but even education has merely been getting lip service in the last few budgets. And this is clearly a sector which has been identified as a key, essential area for India to grow.
Yeah, but what do you expect from a taxation standpoint? A cess coming through or how?
No, not really. It's not from a tax perspective, but again, we have some reforms which are pending there. And, we have some bills which are, still...
including opening up the sector.
Foreign universities bill,
yes.
etc.
Okay.
So if there is some movement on that, then that would really bring in some growth there, because there are foreign universities which are just, waiting to enter India and to, establish world-class campuses.
Okay. Dr. Trehan, you've always sort of lobbied about the idea that we need a large number of doctors into the pool now, because what we produce at the moment and the range of 25 to 30,000 doctors a year, but what we need are probably the double. It really boils down to the issue of skill development in the country, partially vocational education. Are you expecting the budget to pay attention to these subjects with possibly looking at a more result-oriented approach?
So, this is the main concern is twofold. One is numerical, the other is quality. That a large number of the doctors who are being educated in some of the institutions that are already here, like the medical colleges, the quality is quite dismal, and that's of great concern to us, because if 20-30% of the doctors coming out of these schools are actually substandard, we are putting lives in danger. So I think that we need to make some sweeping changes in the regulatory of how and who and why we allow people to open medical schools. So I think that this budget should also address some of the issues like was already said about education, in healthcare, otherwise skill development, and we don't have time to sit on our backs anymore. We need to move, and I think this budget could be the stimulus for it. Like you said in the very beginning, could this be the game changer? Yes, it can be, and I don't know if this opportunity will be seized or not.
That's the big question, isn't it? So, from soft infrastructure to real capital formation, expectations of more projects, you think, in terms of doling out road projects, NHAI expansion and so on. Do you expect serious infrastructure thinking onwards from 12th to the 13th five-year plan?
Look, I would expect a lot of fancy announcements, but we've had fancy announcements in the past, and they have not translated into actual investment. We have heard that the government, for instance, is going to urge its public sector undertakings, saying, look, you are sitting on tens of thousands of crores of cash. Why don't you go ahead and invest in large new projects? So there will certainly be a number of statements, strong statements of this kind. I think he will also say that, since I'm bringing down the fiscal deficit, this should enable the RBI to reduce the interest rate. And this way, I think he will say that indirectly, even while taxing you more, I am actually going to be helping the investment climate by helping bring down interest rates.
You talk about ease of investment, Swami. BVR Subbu, I want to quickly ask you, as a CEO in India Inc., do you expect that FDI could be something that they'll pay attention to? From an aviation standpoint, they've said no, it's going to be after the budget. They still hope that there could be something on retail, or do you think it's wishful thinking, FDI announcements in the budget?
I think irrespective of what budget announcements we have on FDI, if foreign investors see the Indian market as having great potential, they'll bring their money here. The markets were not as open as they are today in, let's say, the mid-90s, and yet a host of auto manufacturers came into the country then. And, they found potential. Wherever investors see potential, they'll come. I think all you need to do actually to get FDI to come in is to make things, more normative, approvals more normative more than anything else.
Swami, coming to you for what is the final question, and it's probably going to be the question that the FM is going to face every single day, even on the day of the budget. How does he try and balance the fisc versus what he needs to do in terms of expenditure? If you were to pick up three items, what do you think he's going to pick to try and play the fiscal story out?
Okay, as far as the spending programs are concerned, he will talk about all the big programs with something more for health, because health definitely is going to be the new emphasis. So He will announce those programs. At the same time, he will attempt to arrange the outlays so that, too much does not get spent in the current year, in the coming year. For instance, the Food Security Act is on the anvil. It could take an awful amount of additional money. But I mean, there's a case for saying, let us try it out in stages, in pilot projects, so that we don't spend too much in the coming year. And then you can have full-fledged implementation in budget 2013, which will be an election budget. So by this kind of phasing, I think he can attempt to control some of that spending. And of course, he needs to get down those subsidies on oil and fertilizer.
Ashish Guha, your closing comments. We're looking at a country which is delivering about, 7% growth, at least that's the hope right now, not 9%. But yet we're much better off than the rest of the West. Do you think the FM will seize the opportunity? This is the only year after all.
Absolutely. If you look at each country, they are giving some stimulus to the industry. And we are also expecting some stimulus to come from the finance minister. But I am not envying his position because he's got tied hands. High fiscal deficit, growth a concern, high interest rates. How he's going to tackle it, I'm sure he'll find a solution. But infrastructure, getting interest rates down, looking at reducing subsidies, some bold measures which will make a difference, I think.
Dr. Trehan, 2 bold measures that the FMA deliver and that you will be satisfied with?
One, to give the definition of the infrastructure status awarded to healthcare so that we can go about our business and building out the infrastructure which is sorely required. The other thing is the PPP model. The PPP model has been languishing for the last 5 years. We know it's a very important piece in developing the healthcare facilities for the semi-rural and rural area.
Sefali, when we look at taxation, we were expecting GST and DTC. Now both are delayed and pushed by 1 year. Do you expect, though, that there will be some signal that gets us closer to what are these 2 tax reforms?
Probably there might be some announcement on the DTC since, the finance minister has been keeping up his date of April 2012, and that doesn't seem to be as much of reality anymore.
Yeah.
But what would be good to see is, if he resists the temptation of taking a few things out of the DTC and introducing in the current law, such as, select anti-abuse measures, that would be good because, anything which needs more debate from the Parliament, I think that should be given its due time.
And it will get a sort of a transition period till next year.
Right. And also, secondly, there is this apprehension that some of the things might change retrospectively, and which we are used to seeing from past experience. If he doesn't bring in retrospective amendments, then that would be another plus.
Okay. Very quickly, Swami, I'll give you the final word. We need a sentiment booster, don't we, through this budget?
Yes, we do need a sentiment booster, but it can't be a sentiment booster through populism. It has to be a sentiment booster by saying we are returning to a path of sensible prudence. We are not just going all out to get a few votes, nor are we going to just give all kinds of sops to industry. We are going to be sober, we are going to have a long-term vision, and that is the kind of solid foundation on which we hope you will cheer our budget.